Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Leafs Convo podcast presented by Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, Canada, oakridgeford.com. It is May 17th, 2020, the early morning hours. I'm Norm James along with Mike Jello. This is the Leafs Convo podcast, 1 million listens on all platforms. Thank you very much for that. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Norm.
Good morning. That's your cue to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning, Norm. No, there's
1 million
so
listens. Who's listening to this thing? This is ridiculous. Who listens
yeah.
to it? Come on.
Can they take the listens away now? No, but good morning, Norm. Yeah, it's actually a beautiful day in downtown Buffalo, which is a shock because normally it's raining and depressing. But I hope that the optimistic weather leads to optimism in terms of the world of hockey
Yeah.
getting back on the ice.
It feels like things are slowly emerging, right or wrong, whether under the guidance of the guidelines that have been put out there for us to follow, or just people wanting to do whatever the hell they want to do. Things are
Mhm.
starting to begin again, right? And just the feeling of getting outside, even some of the people closest to me who've had their guard up for quite some time are doing things naturally they wouldn't have done a few weeks or a month back. With that said, you're going to have this growing hunger for hockey and sports and a lot of the normalcy we knew. We want that to return sooner rather than later. Mike, there's going to be a plan in place to actually concretely make something happen.
I mean, luckily the NHLPA and the owners and some of the players, some of the individual players, play committee together a few weeks back, and I think that's been a positive thing because you're getting all viewpoints and all aspects, discussed. And I know that there have been a few players. I know Drew Doughty came out about a month or so ago and talked about, why would I come back because my team's not going to make the playoffs, or Devin Dubnyk not wanting to be away from his his family, and it's like, okay, the reality here is there's going to have to be some sort of compromise. I think everybody knows that, and the only way to be able to get this done is to probably play in neutral sites. I think there's no way that they're going to be able to play like a traditional series where a team goes from Toronto to Tampa to Toronto. It's going to be in neutral sites. Players are just going to have to say, they're going to have to do that at least temporarily to be able to get these games played. And the league, there has been some. It seems like the direction is going towards a 2014 playoff because that eliminates all the hubbub about close playoff races and teams that missed by a point or two not being in. You're going to get everybody in there. It's basically adding a round, probably a best 2 of 3 series, and that content to the rights holders will make up for the loss of 10 or 11 games of meaningless regular season games that would have been from the middle of March to the beginning of April. So I think that's a pretty decent compromise, but I don't think you see anything like what Blake Snell said in Major League Baseball or that kind of stuff, because I think the NHL and the PA are on the same page, and I'm more optimistic about hockey and basketball getting back on the court and on the ice than Major League Baseball, because you got a bunch of crybabies talking about how they're only going to make $3 million instead of $12 million.
Imagine cutting that check if you're the owner. Where's the money coming from to fund those salaries? It's just not there. However, in the NHL, their plan is to just get back into business, eat what they have to, make what they can. The tournament idea, to me, Mike, is fantastic. Can you imagine the television ratings? They are going to be through the roof. Just people who really couldn't give a shit about hockey otherwise, just wanting to see competition, stuff on television that's actually live.
The hunger is out there for sports, so much so that a documentary on Michael Jordan, which is, has been excellent, and it's concluding tonight, normally would get, a couple million, 3 million viewers. It's getting like 15 because everybody is jonesing for sports, even something that was 20 years ago, but at least it's giving a new perspective to it. Everybody, right now, like UFC has had events with no fans. I don't think it's going to be a problem for people to get used to a Major League Baseball game or an NHL game with no fans temporarily. They know it's something that they have to do. Eventually, we know the fans are going to be back, and it'll be great when that happens. But right now, we just can't do
Well,
it.
from what, 2007 to 2010, there were no fans at Blue Jays games till Jose Bautista was picked up from the Pirates, I think. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
documentary in and of itself, right there. The emergence of Jose Bautista and the endless lineup of Yankee fans who thought he was on steroids because he wasn't wearing pinstripes. But anyway, I digress. Yankees fans, what are you going to do about them, right? They're kind of like Leafs
Yes.
fans.
Yeah. They're incredibly intelligent. That's true.
Okay, calm down there. This is the Leafs Convo podcast. I'm Norm with Mike. So the expansion draft is closing in June 2021.
Mm.
It's almost just around the corner. The Maple Leafs are going to have some players who are currently on the roster now that will be poached by the Seattle franchise. And it seems the Maple Leafs are making plans to be sure that they have enough personnel in place in case some of their guys are taken in that draft. Adam Brooks signed to a 2-year, two-way deal. What is he? Would you say
Mm.
he's an insurance policy?
The organization clearly likes Adam Brooks and likes the fact that he is advanced and improved since he was drafted in 2016. He had 2 big years in the WHL. I think almost led the WHL in scoring. I think he fell short by a point. Then came to the Marlies, was part of the Calder Cup winning team. Then had a good year last year, advancing in the lineup. And this year he got a 7-game look-see up at the NHL level, and they liked what they saw. He had 3 assists. So I think they think he projects as an NHL forward. He's 24 years old, so he's a little older when he was drafted. They signed him to a 2-year deal. It's a two-way deal. I believe he still has some waiver exemption, but the reason I connect this to the expansion draft is because more than likely the Leafs are going to use the traditional 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, 1 goaltender in terms of protection. If they do that, they have a couple dilemmas. Now, I believe that they will expose a guy like Freddie Gauthier because Gauthier meets the requirements of games played. You have to have a certain amount of games played over the 2 years before expansion to be able to qualify. So I think Adam Brooks, because and I believe he is exempt because he just started his NHL career this year, he would be exempt. So if somebody does pick up Gauthier, then they have a 4th-line center already in the organization, or they could re-sign or sign somebody in free agency to cover that. But with the fact that they're tied up against the cap, that's always a consideration to have somebody who they sign like Brooks at $725,000. But if you look at the Leafs roster, 7 forwards, you're talking about exposing either Kerfoot or Kapanen or Janssen or Pierre Engvall to expansion. You're on defense. You have 4 defensemen right now that they would probably want to protect. Riley, Muzzin, and then right now Justin Hall or Travis Dermott. Now Sandin, Liljegren, all those guys, all the European and Russian free agents that they've signed, they're exempt, but they're exposing players that they believe or they think or their value is as core players. And I think that means that you could see Kyle Dubas at some point after this season make a deal where he's trading a Kapanen and a Dermott for 1 player, and it's easy to protect that. But other teams have the same issues, so it would be, they're either going to lose 1 very valuable player or they're going to, expose players that they don't mind losing. And I would say they wouldn't mind losing Freddie Gauthier as opposed to losing a Kerfoot or a Kapanen.
You can mitigate some of the hurt in losing players that you want to keep by making deals ahead of time. First things first, get back on the ice and see if the Leafs can somehow triumph over top of this cobbled together tournament that we're all anticipating so much. And then the sorting out of personnel from there, Mike. This team, whether it faces an expansion draft or a protracted playoff run or a mini tournament has personnel issues, regardless of what it's facing or what's around the corner. As of right now, this team can be better in so many ways, despite the glut of talent that currently represents the blue and white, whether preemptively or just doing it for the sake of doing it. I encourage any move that Kyle Dubas can make to improve the fortunes of this team. Last word to you.
Yeah, I just think that, and I don't think that the conclusion of this season, whether this team advances into a conference final or they lose in the first round because of the situation with the pandemic and everything that has been thrown up over the last few months, is going to be determinative in terms of Kyle Dubas making changes. I think more than likely he's going to stay the course, but I think that the expansion draft may have more in terms of an impact if they feel that they're going to lose players in the expansion draft that they deem valuable. Then they may want to make a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 type of deal where they get a bigger player that has an impact and alleviate themselves of that issue. But we will see,
Mike,
going forward.
It's always fun, and thank you very much for bringing your sage, wise, omniscient presence to this show. Half Leaf fan, half Yankee fan. Half of you is fine, half of you is arguable. Have a great day, buddy.
Thanks, Norm.